Okay, so if you spend any time online, you've definitely seen it. That claim that a little spoonful of apple cider vinegar, or ACV, is the secret weapon for weight loss. It's one of the biggest wellness trends out there for sure. But is it fact, or is it just fiction?
I mean, seriously, can this simple stuff you probably have in your kitchen cabinet right now really help you shed pounds? That's the million-dollar question, and that's exactly what we're going to dig into.
We're going to break down the science, we're going to separate the real facts from all that fiction and get to the real story here. So you're going to want to stick around, because the truth is a little more complex and honestly, way more interesting than just the hype.
All right, first up, the weight loss promise. Let's get right into the biggest claim of all, right? The idea that ACV is some kind of amazing weight loss tool. Well, as you're about to see, the actual evidence behind that promise is, well, it's surprisingly weak.
Look, I'm not going to beat around the bush here. Let's just get straight to it. This whole idea that apple cider vinegar is some kind of magic potion for losing weight, it's really built on some seriously shaky ground. It's just not backed up by good science. So let's talk about why.
So, if the evidence is so weak, where did this whole thing even come from? I mean, it had to start somewhere, right? Let's decode the research and take a much closer look at the science, or maybe the lack thereof, that got this whole trend started.
Okay, get this. The entire massive claim that ACV causes significant weight loss, it all comes down to just one single clinical trial from back in 2018. That's it. The whole thing is built on this one study. And, well, when you start to actually look at it, the whole thing kind of falls apart.
And when I say it falls apart, I mean it. This one study had some major flaws. For starters, there was no placebo group. That means everyone knew they were taking the vinegar, which can totally skew the results. Plus, they didn't even account for what people were eating or if they were exercising. And here's the real kicker. Every single person in the study was already on a diet to lose weight. And on top of all that, the findings have never, ever been replicated. You know, this just isn't how good science works.
Okay, I hear you. You're probably thinking, but what about feeling full? I heard it makes you feel full so you eat less. It's the other big claim you always hear, right? That ACV crushes your appetite. So, is that part true?
Well, researchers looked into this. A big review in 2022 pulled together all the studies they could find. And what did they see? For short-term effects, the results were all over the place. Some studies showed a tiny effect, others showed nothing. Super unreliable. And for the long term, does it actually help you manage your appetite over time? No, not a single study could find a lasting effect. So, bottom line, the science just isn't there.
So, let's put it all together. The big verdict on ACV and weight loss. The claim is that it's this powerful tool, right? But the evidence, it's just that one really flawed study and some super inconsistent data. It's not a great case. But hold on, because that's not the end of the story for apple cider vinegar.
So we've kind of debunked the weight loss thing. But does that mean you should just toss your ACV in the trash? Not so fast. Just because it's not a weight loss miracle doesn't mean it's totally useless. So let's talk about what it might actually be good for, beyond the scale. Because it turns out there are other potential benefits that have much, much stronger evidence behind them.
And the hero of this part of the story is something called acetic acid. It's the main active ingredient in vinegar, any vinegar really. It makes up about 5 or 6% of ACV. You know that sharp, sour taste? That's acetic acid, and that's also the compound that seems to be responsible for some of these other potential health perks.
And this is where things get pretty interesting. The research with stronger evidence suggests that ACV might actually play a role in things like controlling blood sugar, improving how your body uses insulin, and it even has some antibacterial properties. But one of the most promising areas, it has to do with cholesterol.
Now check this out. A big review from 2021 looked at 9 different clinical trials. That's a lot more than one, right? And what it found was that using apple cider vinegar was actually linked to a significant drop in both total cholesterol and triglycerides. See, this is the kind of evidence, based on multiple studies, that gets scientists to sit up and take notice.
Okay, so now you might be thinking, great, I'll start chugging it for my cholesterol. But whoa, hold on. Before you do that, we absolutely have to talk about the risks, because this stuff is not entirely harmless. It's really important to know what you're getting into. Remember that acetic acid we talked about? Well, it's an acid, and that means it can do some damage. It can wear away the enamel on your teeth over time, and if you drink it straight undiluted, it can literally burn your mouth and your esophagus. No joke. Plus, if you have certain health conditions, like one called gastroparesis, it can actually make them worse. It can even mess with certain medications. So yeah, you have to be really smart about this.
And that brings us perfectly to our last section, how to use it safely. If you've heard all this and you still want to try it for some of those other potential benefits, not the weight loss, right? Then here's a practical guide for how to do it the right way. So, here are 4 simple steps to do this safely. First, start small. Seriously, just 1 teaspoon mixed in water. See how you feel. Second, keep the dose smart. The recommended amount is just 1 to 2 tablespoons for the entire day. Third, spread it out. Don't take it all at once. Divide that daily amount into 2 or 3 smaller doses. And fourth, and this is the big one, the most important rule of all, always dilute it. Mix it in a full glass of water. Never, ever drink it straight.
I'm going to say that again because it is that important. I'm not exaggerating here. Undiluted vinegar can physically burn the inside of your mouth and your throat. It's an acid, so please never drink it straight.
So, let's wrap this all up. What's the big takeaway here? It's simple. Apple cider vinegar is not a weight loss shortcut. It's just not. The science to back up that huge claim, it isn't there. Sure, it might have some other cool potential health benefits, but a magic bullet for losing weight, it's definitely not that. And that kind of brings us to a final, bigger question, doesn't it? We're always looking for that quick fix, that one magic trick. But what if the goal isn't a quick fix? What if it's about building real, healthy habits that actually last? Maybe the whole lesson from this ACV trend isn't really about vinegar at all. Maybe it's about learning to look past the hype and focus on what really works, day in and day out.